Hi guys, welcome back to my rabbit hole of K-pop. I am Atomic Rabbit. Sorry, I needed to reinstall myself for a second. I have a very short window of time to record this video, which I wanted to do actually today, Friday the 10th, the day of the publication of Fever Epilogue, as well as the MV for The Real. Also because tomorrow is Mama and there's so much happening. Today is 3 of my old groups have MVs dropping. 2 of them have a comeback now. It's very overwhelming to say the least. And Fridays are not the best days for me. Since almost 2 months, I am cleaning at my neighbors on Friday mornings, and the evenings we have dinner together. Nothing romantic. This is my older neighbor, Albert, who lives at the end of the street, and he's a super nice guy. So I started cleaning his house, and in return he invites me over for dinner because he's bored as much as I am. So it's nice we spend the evenings together, but that means that I don't have much time on Fridays. And today being such an overwhelming day because the amount of content that was dropped, videos, music videos, pictures, TikToks, the whole album. So I first took some time this afternoon to go out for a walk so I could properly listen to the whole album. I'm gonna start off by saying that this is right now my favorite album out of all the albums. Over the whole of ATEEZ's discography, I have absolute favorites for every album. There's at least 2 or 3 tracks that are absolutely in my top that I would put on my own compilation. But I always listen. I have this playlist. I put all their albums on there, and it's just I listen to that whole playlist when it comes to ATEEZ, because the whole is just. But when you ask me to pick my favorites, I have that. You know, there's that list. But out of the albums, this right now is absolutely my favorite. And the overall feeling that I had coming out of the listening session was that I think the feeling can best be described as gratitude for their voices, for their music, for them as people, and for them sharing all of this, sharing their journey with us, and sharing that music and those voices with us. It's their form of expression, but it's also their form of communication with us, amongst other things. But music is such a deep and complicated form of art because it has so many levels. It is that music, so it's music that makes you feel a certain way, but then there's lyrics added to it, and there are voices singing those lyrics, and those voices also make you feel a certain kind of way. So that makes it so complicated. And that is why we have various genres of music and various groups that we listen to, and various groups that speak to us, or various artists that speak to us on a different level. And it's different for each of us. But for me, this whole album and the songs on here, I think they represent ATEEZ, but they also represent the individual members of ATEEZ, so each person. Because when you listen to the voices delivering their part of the song and contributing to the whole of that song, when you listen to them, you can hear their character, you can hear their personality in it. Every voice that comes on gives me a different feeling. Jungho's voice, every time that he sings, it's that explosion of raw power. It's that big, big is not even the word to describe Jungho's vocals. It's immense. It's like this big, wide open space. It's big, it's immense, it's magical. There's this magnitude to his singing abilities. And every time he sings, it's like there are fireworks that will explode in my chest. Because it's so big, you can't go around it. It's there. But it's not overpowering. There's a lot of power, but it's not overpowering. It's beautiful to listen to. And then you have San, who has those soft, clear, like a starry cloud kind of vocals that are so soft and airy. Like fairy dust. And then there's Yosang, who has that warm vanilla kind of feel to his tones, whether it's higher or lower. But it's such a big contribution to the whole. I realized way later that for Turbulence, I didn't speak a lot on their vocals or on the actual MV. I think I lingered on the feeling that it gave me more than the actual MV in the song itself. So I also want to touch on that a little bit. Well, I'll incorporate it in this one. Wooyoung's singing has improved so much, and it just hit me all of a sudden that his vocals are so immensely powerful as well, and that he has his very unique tone, which also just adds to the whole. I think it was when I was actually listening to the recorded version of, I can't remember what I was listening to. No, it must have been a Fever Part 3 song that I was listening to. Anyways, I just realized all of a sudden, like, it happened overnight. It's not only his dancing that has, where he has found his ground, like his stable base ground. It's also his singing. So it improved, both of it. Improving is a bad word because that would imply that they weren't that good at the beginning. Like I said, for Turbulence, they were never bad to begin with. And when you look at it now, you could almost say that they weren't as good back when they started as they are now. But I really enjoy listening to Wooyoung and Yeosang. And Yeosang's vocals in the whole of this album just really, really touch me deeply. Because it sounds so emotional. It sounds so... You know how Yeosang, his facial expression is almost always the same kind of expression, but it's like his emotions translate into the delivery of his singing, delivery of his lyrics, as well as his dancing. And I think the same goes for Seonghwa. Both Yeosang and Seonghwa have amazing personalities, and they're a bit on the softer, more reserved side. But when you see them perform and when you hear them sing, that's where you can actually see who they really are and what their driving force is. You show your vulnerability, right? When you're singing, when you're performing. That's when you have to dig deep within yourself. It's even with singing, it comes from your center. So it comes from your stomach. It comes from the center of your being. And then when you're dancing as well, dancing is a form of self-expression. So when they're on stage, they really show their true selves. And I think this album, or for me, I felt that this album, and that's also where that sense of gratitude came from, this album, they allowed themselves also to really, really show who they are, to let us hear who they are. Because when you listen to Seonghwa's vocals, the sheer and raw emotion coming through that, like you can see in the MV for Turbulence, for instance, you can see Seonghwa holding back. Well, I kind of see him sort of holding back, being in that acting part. And you see Sam in the MV, you see him, his facial expressions also share some sort of pain. But when you listen to the song, when you really listen to it, there's way more. And I read Seonghwa's messages for Turbulence as well, that he said that when he was recording it, that he felt really, really emotional. And you can hear that. And it's like this album is not only... is that moment of, so it's the end of an era, so it's the end of Zero Fever, so it's time for a new chapter, so it's that transition phase, but it feels also like they just really shed old skin. They really left behind whatever they didn't need anymore, and they really went through so much this past year, and probably a lot of self-discovery as well. And what came out of that is just pure truth, pure artistry, pure, this is who we are. This is who we are as individuals, and this is who we are as group, and this is what we stand for. I know I'm just rambling on here, but I think this is important to say, because I've lived with ATEEZ for a little over a year now, and I've only shared half of this time with you guys. I've shared almost everything of what I've watched for ATEEZ, but I didn't really share a lot of my thought. I did share a lot of my thoughts, but I didn't share it to this extent. So I think it is important at this moment in time to also share this with you. And you're welcome to scroll along to the MV reaction if you want. But if you want to listen, that's what my couch is for, right? My virtual couch. This whole album is, for me, sort of composed in 4 parts, with Turbulence and Be With You being very emotionally heavy, very classical, very melodical, very vocally explosive. They pull out everything that is still lingering, like sadness and pain. They pull out that part of you, right? And then it goes on with The Letter and Still Here and Better, which are songs that are kind of mellow. Yeah, mellow was the best way to describe it. By the way, The Letter, Mingy's Fix On in there, perfection. Pure perfection. I think that is my favorite Fix On out of every song, The Letter. Those are songs to kind of, we shed that pain, we shed all of that which is holding us back, and now we're just in that moment of, okay, composition, that mellow kind of, let's calm down and let's see where we're at. And then we get on with The Real. Probably Better might also be sort of that transition, but we have The Real, and it's that kind of, it reminds me a lot of Thanks in a way, but it's so great. It's such a great song. The composition of it, of all of these tracks, by the way, the composing and the production behind it. That's why I love to listen to these while I go on a walk, because I can really listen to them. The composition team and the whole production behind it is so amazing. And The Real, it's new, it's refreshing, but because of the traditional elements in it, The Real is that kind of shout, like, we are ATEEZ, we're Korean, and we're K-pop idols. And it's those 3, and that makes up for The Real. And it's that fight song. It's that you wanna, just like Thanks was, in a way. It's like Let's Go. And then you've got, I never thought we were gonna get the Kingdom songs on track. I never thought. I'm so glad we did. It's amazing. Also, Answer, the Mingy verse added to it, and Still Here with the Mingy verse added to it. I'm so glad that they kept Songha's rap in there. I would have missed it if it wasn't in there, if they didn't keep it. I was afraid for a second they might, but they didn't. I'm so glad they didn't. The Mingy verse in Answer. Answer is this mind-blowing combat, battle, rock thing. And then you've got outro coming after that. And that's what I mean, like in those 4 parts. It's that kind of transition and that kind of let's go. And with outro ending it, with outro having that rock part as well, but then ending it in kind of a mellow, and it sort of stays with you. And when you listen when you listen to the album on repeat, outro goes over into Turbulence. The transition is just immaculate. But outro leaves that lingering kind of hopeful feeling. Something new is coming, but you don't really know what it is, but you're not afraid of it. Not necessarily excited, but you're not afraid of it. So it's you're looking towards the future with hope, whatever may come. And I don't know if we can say that this is the most ATEEZ album. It probably is. I think that might be the best way to describe it. With Wave being on there, Wonderland being on there, Answer being on there, those new tracks being on there, having these Kingdom remixes. This whole album seems to tell the story of this past year for ATEEZ, what they went through, how they came out of it, and I think it shows their identity as artists the most out of all the albums. It's a very mature album, and to me it's now my all-time favorite album for ATEEZ, but also out of all the albums that I've listened to so far, it's definitely in my top 3. With all of that being said, I noticed I've been rambling on for quite a bit. I think it's time to get into the cheering guide for Turbulence, because of course I'm gonna watch that video as well, and then I'll head on to The Real MV. I do have to warn you, I did watch the MV this morning when it dropped, right before I went to cleaning. So I've watched it the first time, but I've only watched it that first time. I haven't watched it since. I had to restrain myself at least 3 times to not watch it again because I wanted to keep the second viewing for with you guys to talk about it a little bit more. So keep in mind, I have seen it, so if I do talk in between or pause it, it's also because I've already seen it and because I will want to point out certain things and maybe I won't stop it at all. So just so you know. Okay, cheering guide first. Let's go.
Let's go.
I need to go watch all these videos. I love how even when they're not singing or doing anything, it's just... They will just never be able to stay still, will they? Oh, come on. Why are you being so difficult? It's such a lovely song. And then there's ATEEZ. Being ATEEZ. Okay, I really need to look into the fan chants if I'm gonna go to the concert. At least I know all the songs, so I can sing along. That's one thing. Alright. Sorry. Okay, before I forget my thoughts, this is why I'm gonna pause it. I love the film vibe of this MV. It also kind of felt like this was an MV that I know this is a second comeback within a couple of months, so, and Mingi has been back with the last one already, but it's sort of like welcoming Mingi back for real, or sort of, you weren't there for Kingdom, but you're here now, and this is also your experience. Of course, it's probably got to do with the whole timeline and the story, because Mingi is mostly in the middle of everything. So there's obviously another reason for him to be in the center of all things. And there's obviously a reason why the duos are the duos that they have, like the couples in each scene, like Hongjung and Songhwa, San, Woo-young, Yo-sang being by himself, Mingi being by himself, Yuno, Jongho. There's obviously a reason behind that, which we will still have to figure out. But yeah, I love that kind of Mingi coming in there, heading to that school, first day, doing his thing, and just showing up by himself. I really, really love that. The total randomness of things appearing in this MV, it's not random at all, I know that. And the kind of gangster mafia vibe that is hanging in here, the group thing, the whole traditional cultural aspect of this, making it seem like that old Korean, old school kind of film series thing. You probably know what I mean. I'm gonna try not to stop it because this is just too epic to stop.
이게 바로 무신기라.
That gigantic brush is amazing. This set is probably my favorite. The character in here.
이런 게 바로 무신기라.
Is that a school bell? This, I need a banner.
이것이 무엇이여?
This is Thanks, but leveled up. Also, I need the big balloon pants. They're awesome. It feels like I'm hearing a school bell. These hammocks.
춤 들어가요.
This is like a Korean superhero movie. Also, the division of each individual, like the styles that they got, like the baseball jackets and the motorcycle outfits and handboks, like who got which? This'll... I can't wait to see this on stage.
이런 게 바로 멋입니다.
Jungkook's and Yeosang's facial expressions.
이런 게 바로 멋입니다.
Remember how I said that Yeosang usually has the same kind of expression on his face? I think this might be one of the first MVs where his face tells different stories. And it's sheer perfection. I love all of this so much. And in the almost 2 years that I've got into K-pop, I've seen a lot of different MVs. I've seen a lot of storytelling. I've seen excellent MVs. I've seen a few that I didn't like. I've seen simple ones. I've seen more complicated ones. And I think out of all the MVs that I've seen ever, this to me might be the best, actually. It is so complete. It's so epic. It's just like the song, culturally heavy, but in a modern way. But it shows so much of Korean culture, and it transports you, and you can watch it and not be up to date with anything of the storyline, and you can still follow it, and you can take away so much from it. I always wish that they would make a series with this, like an actual series, like ATEEZ series, and do something like that. I think that would be epic. Okay, I've talked for so long. This is gonna be a very long video. I hope I can give it to you soon. Not tonight, because I gotta go prep and go to my dinner. But I will see you soon. I'm planning on getting back for real next week. Thank you for joining me on my couch. Hope you enjoyed it. I will see you on the next one. 안녕.